If you drive through the suburb of Emerald Hills in California today, you will notice something strange. Every house looks exactly the same. Perfect white fences, perfect beige walls, and perfect artificial-looking green grass, except for one house at the end of the cul-de-sac. If you walk past house number 704, you won't see a manicured lawn. You will see a jungle. You will see wild, towering sunflowers, dense bushes, and strange wooden boxes mounted high on poles. And if you look closely at the front gate, you will see a metal sign issued by the United States government. It reads, "Warning, federally protected habitat. Do not disturb under penalty of law." This is the story of Sarah, a woman who loved nature. And it is the story of Greg, an HOA president who hated anything he couldn't control. Greg tried to destroy Sarah's garden with fines and chemicals. He thought he could bully her into submission, but he didn't know that Sarah was a biologist. And he certainly didn't know that by declaring war on her garden, he was picking a fight with the most powerful lawyers on Earth, Mother Nature, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. We are about to dive into a story of biological warfare, legal loopholes, and the ultimate environmental revenge. But before we unleash the bats, I have a quick request. If you believe that nobody should tell you what to grow in your own backyard, hit that subscribe button and smash the like button if you want to see a power-hungry tyrant get a lesson in ecology. Let's get into it. Emerald Hills was built on a simple promise: perfection. The bylaws of the Homeowners Association were 300 pages long. They specified everything. The grass had to be Kentucky bluegrass. It had to be mowed twice a week. And most importantly, no weeds allowed. To Greg, the HOA president, a weed was anything that wasn't grass. A daisy? Weed. A dandelion? Weed. A native wildflower that had grown in California for 1,000 years? Weed. Greg was obsessed with chemicals. He forced the entire neighborhood to spray heavy pesticides every month. He wanted a sterile environment. No bugs, no bees, just green plastic-looking grass. Then Sarah moved in. Sarah was in her late 30s, a quiet researcher who specialized in chiropterology, the study of bats. She bought the house because it backed onto a small creek. She wanted to create a pollinator garden. Instead of grass, she planted native sage, lavender, and milkweed, plants that attract butterflies and bees. It wasn't messy. It was beautiful. It was colorful. It was alive. For the first month, Greg was too busy harassing a family about their basketball hoop to notice. But one Tuesday morning, the wind changed. Greg smelled lavender. He walked down the street, clipboard in hand, and stopped in front of Sarah's house. He didn't see a lawn. He saw anarchy. He marched up the driveway and banged on the door. "Sarah, can I help you?" Greg. "Sarah, we need to talk about this mess." Sarah. "Mess? You mean the garden? It's native xeriscaping. It saves water and helps the local pollinators." Greg. "It helps the what?" "Listen, Sarah, in Emerald Hills we do grass. Green grass. This stuff, it looks like a farm. It brings down the property value. You have 48 hours to rip all of this out and lay down sod." Sarah tried to reason with him. She explained that California was in a drought. She explained that grass wastes water. She explained that her plants were actually listed on the state's recommended native species list. Greg didn't care about science. He cared about uniformity. Greg. "I don't care what the state recommends. I care about the HOA bylaws. Article 9. All front yards must be 90% turf grass. Rip it out, or I will fine you $200 a day. And if you don't do it, I'll hire a landscaping crew to do it for you and bill you for the cost." Sarah was heartbroken. She spent the next weekend digging up her beautiful lavender. She pulled out the milkweed. She watched the butterflies fly away, looking for a new home. She laid down the boring, thirsty green sod that Greg wanted. She complied. She followed the rules. But Greg wasn't satisfied with just compliance. He wanted dominance. A week later, Greg sent out a mandatory notice to the whole neighborhood. "Mosquito season is coming," it read. "The HOA will be doubling the pesticide spraying schedule. We are going to nuke these bugs." Sarah read the notice with horror. The chemicals Greg was using were non-discriminatory. They wouldn't just kill mosquitoes. They would kill ladybugs, dragonflies, and the few remaining bees. Sarah went to the board meeting. She stood up and spoke. "Sarah, Greg, these chemicals are toxic. If you kill the natural predators like dragonflies, the mosquito problem will actually get worse in the long run. We should use natural solutions." Greg. Laughing. "Natural solutions? Like what?" Asking them nicely to leave. "Sit down, Sarah. We're spraying on Monday. Keep your windows closed." They sprayed. The neighborhood smelled like poison for days. The bees died. The dragonflies died. And exactly as Sarah predicted, 2 weeks later, the mosquitoes returned. And this time, they had no enemies. The neighborhood was swarmed. You couldn't go outside without getting bitten. People were miserable. Greg's solution? Spray more. Sarah sat in her house, watching the toxic fog roll down the street. She realized that playing by the rules wasn't working. She needed to change the game. She remembered a specific clause in the federal law, the Endangered Species Act of 1973. It is one of the most powerful environmental laws in the world. It states that if a federally protected species makes a habitat on your property, it is illegal to disturb it, harass it, or force the homeowner to remove it. Sarah smiled. She picked up her phone and called an old colleague at the university. Sarah. Hey, Mike. Do you still have those rescue bats that need a rehabilitation site? Specifically the Mexican free-tailed bats? Yeah. I think I have the perfect location. Operation Dark Night had begun. Bats are nature's ultimate pest control. One single bat can eat up to 1,000 mosquitoes in a single hour. A colony of bats can clean an entire neighborhood in a night. But more importantly, the specific species Sarah was bringing in was protected. Over the next few nights, Sarah worked in her backyard. She didn't plant flowers this time. She installed bat boxes. These look like tall, thin wooden birdhouses mounted on 15-foot-high poles. She placed 2 in the backyard and, crucially, 1 right in the front yard, discreetly hidden behind an oak tree. She transported the small colony of rescue bats, about 50 of them, and settled them into their new homes. For the first few days, nobody noticed. Bats are nocturnal. They sleep during the day. But at dusk, the magic happened. While the rest of the neighborhood was slapping mosquitoes and lighting citronella candles, Sarah sat on her porch with a glass of wine, completely bite-free. The bats were feasting. They were swooping silently through the air, eating the pests that Greg's chemicals couldn't kill. But eventually, Greg noticed the boxes. He was on his evening patrol. He looked up and saw the wooden structure on the pole. To him, it was an unauthorized structure. He marched to Sarah's door. Greg. Sarah, what is that ugly wooden box on the pole? Did you submit an architectural request for that? Sarah. It's a habitat, Greg. For wildlife. Greg. Wildlife? It looks like a coffin on a stick. It's an eyesore. Take it down immediately. Sarah. I can't do that, Greg. It's occupied. Greg. I don't care if the Pope is living in there. It's not approved. You have 24 hours to remove it. Or I'm coming back with a ladder and a crowbar to take it down myself. This was the threat Sarah was waiting for. Greg had just threatened to disturb a protected habitat. The next morning, Sarah didn't take the box down. Instead, she went to the hardware store. She bought a very specific sign and planted it at the base of the pole. She also set up a trail camera pointing directly at the box. That evening, Greg arrived. He had a ladder, he had a crowbar, and he had his landscaping crew with him. He ignored the sign. He didn't even read it. He leaned the ladder against the pole. He climbed up. He raised the crowbar to smash the wooden box. Sarah, yelling from the porch. Greg, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Greg. Watch me. Greg swung the crowbar. Crack. The side of the wooden box splintered. Suddenly, a cloud of 50 screeching bats poured out of the box, startled by the attack. They swarmed around Greg's head. Greg panicked. He flailed his arms. The ladder wobbled. He fell. He landed in the soft and illegal high grass Sarah had started growing again. He wasn't hurt, just bruised and terrified. The landscaping crew ran away. But the real pain was yet to come, because Sarah had filmed the entire thing. The next morning, Greg didn't get a fine from the HOA. He got a visit from a federal agent. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service takes their job very seriously. Sarah had sent them the video of Greg attacking a roosting site of a protected species. 2 SUVs with federal plates pulled up to Greg's house. Officers in uniform knocked on his door. Officer, are you Gregory Miller? Greg. Yes, who are you? Officer. We are with the Department of the Interior. We have evidence that you attempted to destroy a habitat of a protected species and harassed wildlife in violation of the Endangered Species Act. Greg tried to use his usual lines. Greg. But it's an HOA violation. The box wasn't approved. I have bylaws. Officer. Sir, federal law supersedes your HOA bylaws. Disturbing a protected bat colony carries a fine of up to $50,000 per violation and up to 1 year in prison. The color drained from Greg's face. The agents walked over to Sarah's house. They inspected the damage to the box. They declared the area an active conservation site. They issued a formal order to the HOA. Not only were they forbidden from touching the boxes, but they were also prohibited from spraying any pesticides within a 500-foot radius of Sarah's house, as it could poison the food source of the protected bats. This meant Sarah's house was now in a chemical-free zone. The fallout was swift. Greg was slapped with a $25,000 fine personally, because his actions were considered willful and malicious, meaning the HOA insurance wouldn't cover it. He tried to fight it in court, but the video of him swinging a crowbar at a bat house was damning evidence. The neighborhood, however, noticed something interesting. With the pesticide spraying stopped and the bat colony growing, the mosquito problem disappeared. The bats were doing a better job than the chemicals ever did. People started asking Sarah about the boxes. They asked where they could get one. Slowly, other neighbors started installing them. They started planting native flowers again because they didn't have to worry about Greg's chemicals killing them. Greg resigned from the board a month later. He claimed it was for health reasons, but everyone knew it was because he couldn't afford the legal fees and the shame. Today, if you go to Emerald Hills, it looks different. Sarah's yard is a jungle again. The sunflowers are back. The lavender is back. And every evening at dusk, if you look up, you can see the dark silhouettes of hundreds of bats swooping silently over the rooftops, protecting the neighborhood. Sarah proved that sometimes the best way to fight a loud bully is with a quiet, natural solution. Greg wanted a war with nature. He lost. So, the lesson here is simple. Before you tell your neighbor to cut down a tree or remove a box, make sure you know who or what is living inside it. Because federal law has a very sharp bite. If you enjoyed this story of environmental justice, hit that like button. And check out the next video on the screen, where a homeowner used a ham radio tower to defeat an HOA. You won't believe how big he built it. I'll see you there.